Dr. Glen,
Yes, sir.
we're going to beat a dead horse. We're talking Will Smith, Chris Rock, that whole fiasco.
Wait, what happened?
Are you the only person on earth that hasn't seen it at this point?
Oh man, it's been constant. It's constant. The slap heard around the world.
Dude, 15 minutes. I mean, the Oscars were still going. I was getting text messages. People were blowing me up. Have you seen this? Have you seen this? I was like, what in the world?
I thought it was a joke at first.
Yeah.
I was like, this has to be a skit. And then I just, I was like, oh my God, this is actually a real thing.
No, it seemed very real for sure. And it has, I don't know, the wars and everything that's going on right now, it seems to all take a back seat to Chris Rock getting slapped.
Well, priorities, man. This is more important, all right?
Priorities in media and education. So look, we know that everybody has kind of talked about this, given their opinions. We don't want this to be just another, we're going to give opinions. What we want to do is actually look at all the different arguments that have been presented and give a bit of a psychoanalysis on the entire situation. And not that we know it all, right?
Preface. We're not saying we know everything. We're just from a bird's eye view, giving an analysis.
Just some of the things that we're noticing from it.
Yeah, possibilities.
Okay, let's get straight into it, starting with our intro. Welcome to 12-Week Relationships. This is your place for better relationships in weeks, not years. My name is Pye.
I'm Dr. Glen.
When we say relationships, we do mean all of them, starting with the one that you have with yourself, working on outwards, your friends, your family, and of course, your romantic relationships or significant other.
And with yourself. Love yourself, like you said.
We got that, bro.
Okay, yeah, man.
That's really important.
It's early in the morning, though, man.
It is early. For those of you that are new to the platform, we would encourage you to jump onto 12weekrelationships.com, where you can actually subscribe to our newsletter. One of the things that we're working on really hard right now, honestly, everything's kind of taking a backseat to this. We have hundreds of people on the wait list that are waiting to meet with Dr. Glen, and his schedule is filled for several months. So we're really working hard to get the online coaching programs available, because we're going to have online group coaching for individuals as well as for couples. So yeah, if you join the newsletter, not only are you going to get awesome messages, but when that is available, we'll let you all know. It's kind of crazy that your schedule's filled out, dude.
No, it's such a blessing. But yeah, like we need the group.
We do.
Format quickly.
For sure.
And we're working on it. And it's going to be amazing. You get to meet all the other community members.
It's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't we get right into this? So Chris Rock, Will Smith, just for context, we know probably every single person here has seen this, but we're going to break down exactly what happened and the different arguments. So let's start by just playing the video straight up in case maybe you haven't seen it. But anyway, you'll see the video on our video. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see it. If you're just listening, you're going to hear the play-by-play.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
He's laughing. Jada's not having it.
That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here.
He's right. That was a nice one. He was about to make a Richard reference. Boom.
Oh, wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Everyone still thinks it's a joke at this point. This is when maybe it's not a joke.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
I'm going to, okay? Okay.
That, we have to talk about that piece.
That was the greatest night in the history of television.
Okay. So that came from The Guardian. Thank you, The Guardian, for posting one that doesn't have any analysis whatsoever, because it's impossible to find this without any form of talking. So we have that. Okay. First, how about the argument that this was all staged?
There's no way.
Right?
Because there's no humor in that. Like, what's so funny about this whole thing?
No, and I mean, at first, with the initial slap, it kind of looked and felt like maybe this was a, ruse. Maybe this was an act. But then you can see and hear him kind of stumble with his words after that. You have the keep my wife's name twice out your effing mouth.
Yeah.
The quietness of, you can see all the expressions of I think Hollywood could put on a pretty crazy stage performance, but that doesn't feel at all staged.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point where he was laughing and then all of a sudden he came up, okay, cool, this is going to be a bit.
Yeah.
But it's after the slap, and then you're right, after he's cussing, and you can look at Chris Rock's face, it went from like shock to like hurt.
Yeah.
And then he was just stunned and shocked at what was happening. And at that point, How can you fake that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you have to be the most incredible actor in the world to that brief little bit of like, okay, like that stumble right afterwards. And then throughout the entire show, you could see him kind of looking around like, I don't know, like trying to analyze when he's not talking, whenever other people are on stage, he's still trying to process it. And you can see all that. That stuff is, I mean, I don't think you fake that. I don't think Hollywood even understands how to fake that to the point of that level of trauma.
Well, yeah. I mean, once again, like, what's the humor in that?
Yeah.
Like, if you were to describe this bit, what's so funny about this? Unless it's like a Andy Kaufman type bit.
Yeah.
But they don't have that kind of humor.
No.
Yeah.
No. And okay, so I'm not going to put anything past Hollywood's ability to do something. I think that, you know, there is a 1% shot, but I personally feel like this is 99.9% likely to be completely real.
I mean, yeah, if his facial expressions and his tone didn't change the way that it did, like let's say he was consistent through, okay, maybe. But yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So conspiracy theorists, we're going to table that one. We don't think that's a possibility in this case. But number 2 would be that Chris was in the wrong, that this was a harmful, you could say tasteless, but people are arguing that this was actually a harmful joke. What do you think about that?
I mean, I get it because she has alopecia. It's a disorder. You know, she's sensitive about it. I get that. But it didn't warrant what happened.
I don't even think he was in the wrong, dude. I mean, like, maybe this is just my perspective, but this is a comedian that's on stage. Look, in context, the Oscars is a bunch of millionaire celebrities, some close to billionaire celebrities, that are basically patting each other on the back, giving each other awards. I mean, the whole thing is celebrity nominated, celebrity voted. Like it's you have to be part of the, you know, academy to be able to even vote and whatnot. This is their own award show for themselves.
They're celebrating themselves.
Yeah, this is literally Hollywood celebrating themselves. And that's cool. That's fine. But the whole purpose of bringing a comedian up there and doing the jokes is to self-deprecate. It's to bring these people down to earth a little bit, to make it more relatable to everybody else. I don't even know how many people like watching the Oscar. Actually, I'm going to start watching going forward, because if we're going to see drama like that.
I didn't watch it because, yeah, it's just getting really boring.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
So they do that on purpose. Chris Rock is literally doing his job.
But that's his style of humor too. Like, you know, when he did, like, I think it was the MTV Awards, and he was like, look at all of these performers. And then they're all smiling. He's like, you all think you're going to come back next year? But he's like, that's not how the music industry is. You're here today, gone today, right? Like, that's his humor. Like, that's just how he is.
It is. And so I don't think that he was in the wrong. We don't even know if he knew that Jada had alopecia, right?
I mean, this is my take. I don't know if they're friends or not. So, like, if they have like a close relationship and then he knew that she was sensitive about it, okay, then I could see that it's kind of a hurtful thing. But if he just didn't know, it's just part of his brand, and that's just his humor.
There is a history between them and the Smith family or whatever. I don't know how deep it goes. I don't know. I don't know. Like you said, if he's literally doing it because he knows she's sensitive about it, then you could say, yeah, it's not tasteful. But even then, though, it's a G.I. Jane reference.
Yeah, it's not. It's a tasteless joke. I'm sure it hurt her, but it didn't warrant that response.
Is it even tasteless, though? I mean, he's comparing her
to Demi Moore,
a badass female warrior.
Yeah, and you're gonna be a G.I. Jane too. Like, if you think about it in that context, it's not very insulting.
I mean, of all the things that he could compare her to, right? Of all the things that he might say, it's a reference to just looking like a badass female warrior, like G.I. Jane 2. I don't see the insult in that.
Yeah, unless there's a history behind it. I mean, like, I read an article, like, when she banned, like, she was not going to go to the Oscars at a certain year, and he made a joke about the fact that, well, that's like me saying I'm not going to Rihanna's panties. Like, I wasn't invited, and he was like, "You're not invited either, right?" So I think but
that's really funny though too.
but
it's literally Chris Rock, a comedian, doing his job.
Yeah. So I mean, I know that, like, the article is saying, like, she was really pissed off about that. So there's like a history with that. So
who knows? Yeah. I think, and the other side of this too is that Jada and Will Smith are so public about everything. If she's actually, and she even, like, she was on recent podcasts saying that not only does she have alopecia, but she really doesn't care what other people think about her hair.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like to hear that joke and that reference, I just don't think, I do think that she didn't like the joke, but that's fine. You didn't like the joke. But to say that this is, you know, a harmful thing, when in reality, if they actually, I guess I'm saying that if they're actually that sensitive, why would they put that stuff out there? Why would they even, you know, you could say like, well, celebrities deserve to be, you know, treated with respect and whatnot. And this is of course true, but most celebrities don't go like putting their entire affair on a podcast episode and saying like, oh, we're not only going to put it on the episode, but we're going to make admissions while we're recording. And I'm going to talk about every single thing in our family and all this personal stuff we're going to put out there. If you're that sensitive, why would you do that?
Well, I think on their side, they're dictating the terms of how they're sharing. Whereas this one, she has no control over it.
But that's the nature of the beast. I mean, like everything that we've put our own stories out there. We do so knowing that we're going to be judged, knowing that some people are going to appreciate it. Some people are going to ridicule us. Some people are going to blame us for everything that we've said. I mean, we're not 1/1000th of their level of celebrity, and yet we understand this.
I mean, I'm with you on the argument side. Like, I don't think it's a joke itself. There's something else. There's a history there, and that was more of a trigger for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't even think she even cared that much. I think I don't think that this was, you know, her sending Will up. I think she didn't like the joke, and that's fine. She rolled her eyes.
She rolled her eyes.
Who cares, right? Then Will takes it kind of from that point. But going back to, you know, this was Chris Rock's bad. This was a harmful joke. I just completely disagree with that. He's doing his job. If anything, I mean, it wasn't that funny of a joke, but it was quite tasteful. And who knows whether he even knew of her having alopecia or not. But either way, no, he is completely the victim in the scenario.
Yeah, like I said, well, let me ask you this. What if they had a friendship? Like, I don't know their history, but what if they were friends and then he knew and then he went up there and did that? Would that change your opinion?
That would say that, yeah, it's kind of dickish to do something like that. But at the same time, does it merit, you know, going up and being physically violent?
For
no.
sure not.
It's like, you could do a million things. You could say something like, you know, Will could have just said, stop talking about us if he wanted to say something. They could have walked out. They could have addressed it after the fact. They could have went and talked to him personally. They could have went and, you know, made a public, you know, a statement about it. There's a million things that they could do.
No, I agree with you. I mean, the slap wasn't warranted. It's abusive, but the level of tastelessness, I mean, that's just basically, it's just an opinion.
It's an opinion. And personally, I feel like given what, and I think there's an interesting part when he stumbled right afterwards, you can hear this like, I mean, like he's,
he couldn't understand what's happening.
I have a feeling what he was thinking in his head. I mean, this is Chris Rock. He's been a comedian for how long? This guy could verbally destroy the Smiths.
Oh, for sure.
With everything that's publicly available.
For sure.
He went with a G.I. Jane joke.
Yeah.
Which he might not even written it himself, right? It could just be performing whatever was written for him. I mean, this guy could just verbally tear these two down. And of everything, he's getting a G.I. Jane slap. I think that's what's so shocking to him. And that's where it's like, if he wanted to, he could have at that point just dug in, but he didn't. And he kind of continued.
Yeah, he was, like you said, he was processing what was taking place.
Yeah.
And then he has a history of abuse. Like he did like a Howard Stern interview, and then he was bullied and he was sexually assaulted when he was a kid.
Oh, that's crazy.
And then he was saying that to get away and escape, he would start making jokes. Right? That was his coping skill. So initially when he got slapped, he made the joke, right? He's like, oh, Will Slip just slapped the F out of me, right? Like this is the greatest moment in comedy history or whatever the case may be. And then he just started stumbling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The argument though that he was trying to be malicious, I think you can tear that one down by the simple fact that if Chris Rock wanted to be malicious, he could have slaughtered these two verbally.
Oh, he had the right after the slap.
Especially right after the slap.
Yeah.
But even before, it was such a tame reference compared to everything that everybody knows about this family. he simply made a G.I. Jane reference.
Agreed.
So anyway, was it malicious? No, I don't believe at all that that was a malicious or even a tasteless joke. It was not harmful in any way. Anyway, okay. Why don't we talk about, clearly at that moment, Will was triggered. Why don't we define that? What is a trigger?
So an emotional trigger is when your emotions take over where you can no longer rationalize yourself anymore. So like it's when you're, because if you can rationalize something, that means you have like intellectual dominion, meaning like, okay, I feel emotional, but it's probably maybe I didn't eat today or something happened or I didn't get enough sleep. You can intellectually process it and be rational about it. But once you lose the ability to rationalize and you just feel like you're out of control and you're in this kind of convicted state where the emotions taking over, that is a trigger.
Yeah. We sometimes talk about that or describe that as like seeing red.
Yeah.
But that's essentially the sympathetic response, right? Your nervous system takes over. You're going to either fight, you're going to freeze, you're going to flee. Clearly here, he's standing up, he's fighting.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of conversation of, well, why couldn't he just think about that? Why wasn't any logic? And it's literally because when you're triggered and you're seeing red, there is no logic. You're cut off from that part of, reasoning.
You're right. And like you said, your survival instincts take over.
Mm-hmm.
So once that happens, he could either fight, flee, or freeze. And he chose to fight.
Yeah. And this is why we say, like, when you are triggered, the most important thing is to slow yourself down.
Yeah.
Start breathing, remind yourself where you are, come back to being present so that you can actually regain your ability to reason.
Yeah. And in a quality of life state, this is a quality of life. It's a joke. Your life is not on the line, but he was acting as if he had to defend himself and defend his wife, like burglars were coming into his house or something.
For sure.
And it wasn't the case.
Yeah. But in that moment, there is no people saying like he should have just thought about what he was about to do. He should have just reasoned. That literally is not possible.
He was triggered. That's why he was cussing. Keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth. Like he was gone. Mm-hmm. He was gone.
Okay. Was he justified in his action? I think we saw something that said something like, Jada came out and said Chris deserved it.
Oh, did she?
What the hell? I think so. I saw a blog post about it and I didn't go into reading it. So I'm just going to say I saw it. I don't know for sure, but I know that that's a big part of the arguments online, whether or not Jada agrees with it. That's a big part of the arguments online is that he deserved it because this was, again, a harmful joke, a tasteless joke. And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, to me, this brings up the concept of toxic masculinity because a lot of the women would say he's protecting his man. Like, I mean, he's protecting his woman. That's what you should do. You should always protect the honor of your woman. And in this scenario, like, I just don't feel that is true.
No.
He crossed a line. He was being violent. He assaulted Chris Rock. He was out of control. This is not rescuing or defending your family.
She wasn't in danger.
She wasn't in any danger whatsoever.
And, if Jada is this strong, capable person, she can also, talk about toxic masculinity. Shouldn't we give her the benefit of the doubt of being able to protect herself from some words?
Yeah, like you can't have it both ways. You can't be like, oh yeah, I'm a strong, independent woman, but I need to be rescued by my man.
Yeah.
Like that's ridiculous.
To need to be rescued because of a joke, that is the opposite of feminine empowerment.
Yeah, it's not equality at all.
No.
Yeah. It's a double standard, to be honest with you.
The next step to that is just legally. This is assault.
It is.
I mean, there is no court that is going to justify that response to the joke.
And it's recorded. It's on record. And then the police were about to arrest him, I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were, there was someone made a joke. I think one of the television hosts that night was like, it's a good Oscars award show when it, concludes with a statement by the police. Because that's what the police actually responded on Twitter. Like, we are looking into this. We're investigating it. This was assault. There is no court that would hold up and say Will Smith was in the right.
Yeah. I mean, the argument that, it's a tasteless joke, fine. That could be something that can be argued. But then this in and of itself, you cannot argue this. No. This is straight up assault.
Yeah.
Period.
And that was another very strange thing to see Will Smith go up there, slap Chris Rock, for everybody to start recognizing what was going on. Then later he goes up to get his award and he gets a standing ovation.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was, I mean, I didn't see it, but that, you know, when I was reading about it, I was like, this is ridiculous. How can you do that?
He should have been asked to leave.
They should
right
have
there.
escorted him out. He should have never gone up.
Yeah, he should have been escorted out. It should not have been an option. But instead he chooses to stay. Then he goes up and he gets this stand. I mean, that was sickening to watch everybody suddenly be okay with this. And then the whole act, the crocodile tears of this, you know, that whole part, I couldn't watch that piece when he was like apologizing and saying that he didn't even apologize to Chris Rock. He was like apologizing to other people, the Academy, then talking about how, you know, he's justifying it because he's protecting his family and comparing himself to, that was disgusting.
Yeah. When I was reading about it, he was comparing himself to Richard Williams, the King Richard
that he
movie,
portrayed,
saying that, you know, you do crazy things to protect your family. Like, that's different. Like, they were in South Central, you know, trying to survive. He was protecting his family.
Yeah.
This is a
in
joke.
An actual life or death situation.
How can you compare the two? That is ridiculous.
No. Anyway, that kind of blew my mind at that point. But there is no justification for that response. Anybody saying, if you are saying that Chris deserved that, if you're saying that courts will hold this up, if you're literally victim blaming. That is the definition of victim blaming.
No, for sure. And then, you know, I don't know what happened, you know, behind the scenes, but everyone was consoling him. Like, was anyone consoling Chris Rock?
I don't think so. I mean, you know? I'm sure his friends were like, dude, that was insane. Like, whatever that was.
But he should have been the one that, like, are you okay? Do you need some consoling? Or, you know, what's going on with you? Like, he needed to process what happened because you're right, he was the victim in that situation.
But I don't think, again, going back to, Chris was, you could see that he was in shock throughout the entire, you know, thing. And I would think that it's going to be the following weeks where you're actually processing what has just happened and whatnot. Will kind of went on as if nothing had ever happened. Like he was completely in the right. And I firmly believe that if he didn't see if everyone stood up to support what he did, he would think he was justified and right. He's only remorseful because other people disapprove of the behavior.
No, I agree with that. But I would make another argument too, because he was triggered, right? Mm-hmm. Like, definitely, like Chris Rock, we can agree that he was in this trauma triggered state, right? Like,
for
he was
Will
assaulted.
Or for Chris Rock?
Yeah, Chris Rock for sure, right? But I would argue that Will was in a trauma state too.
Oh, for sure.
So like, he was fighting, then he was being consoled, and then, you know, then after that he was receiving the award. So he was just processing all of that was taking place.
Yeah.
But then he was being celebrated for while he was processing all of his things, because that's what happens. You're angry, then you calm down, and then you're tearful and you're remorseful and you're processing all your emotions. Plus, you get an award.
What a weird,
right? Like that's such a weird thing. Like, I just punched somebody, but hey, get your award. Oh my God, this is the best moment of my life. You know, like, that's a trauma state too.
It's so incredibly strange. For sure, they're both in that state of shock and that state of trauma. The next argument is that Will was offended by the joke.
No.
I don't think that's the case at all. He was actually laughing.
He was laughing. And he was laughing for a good amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His laughter stopped when he saw Jada rolling her eyes and her expression.
Yeah.
Then his response changed. So it wasn't actually the joke that had triggered him. It was Jada.
Exactly.
Her response that actually triggered him.
Exactly. Like, you can make the argument that the joke triggered Jada, but then Will was just laughing. And he was laughing for a good long, like at least 4 or 5 seconds. And then when he turned, then he got triggered by her.
Well, and side note, Jada's response for being triggered was appropriate. You roll your eyes, you say, this guy's stupid, whatever it is. That's appropriate. There's nothing wrong with that response. And it's very, like, she's maintaining control throughout it.
Mm-hmm. And then it's appropriate because it was a G.I. Jane joke.
Sure.
Yeah.
So his trigger is very likely to actually be Jada's response to that. And that brings up a whole bunch of other stuff that we can kind of discuss. Like, the next piece would be why. A lot of the online conversation has to do with, like, Jada emasculating him and And you could say that. I think there's a sense of like, you know, his identity has been taken away, but I don't think it's just Jada, and like, because everybody thinks it's Jada's fault, right? Like there's a lot of conversations that Jada is completely narcissistic, and maybe these are, you know, I asked you and you're like, they're both narcissistic men, but not going into any of that stuff. I think it goes a lot deeper than just being emasculated by Jada. I think Will's entire life has been playing this, you know, this role of the anxious, attached person that's trying to get other people to approve of him, from his, you know, early childhood all the way up to, he's been in acting for how long? And all of acting is, do they like me? Do they like me? Are they going to keep me around? Am I going to get renewed for another season? Am I going to get an award this time? His entire life is built up around other people's approval. And I think Jada is only one piece of that.
And then that's also extending to the music industry, because he was also a musician, right? He was a hip hop rapper, right? So like I could kind of see this argument. And then once again, it's not saying that it's true, but you know, Jada was dating like Tupac. She was dating like a lot of rappers, right? Will Smith was doing the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, squeaky clean. His raps are really clean. He's like, I don't cuss. So he was taking a lot of crap. So like in the hip hop community, he was considered soft, right? So when they started dating and getting married, then he tried doing like a little bit harder versions of music, but it just didn't translate because that's not who he is.
Yeah.
So like him being emasculated in terms of like not being the man that the music represented during that time period and maybe being wounded by that, I could possibly see that.
I could see a lot of it playing a part. But yeah, in general, though, I do believe that Will is a person who at this point has lost himself. You know, I think part of it is Jada. I think how traumatic is it to not only, because his wife did, I think they had an open relationship for a time, but that was after she had an affair too, right?
Yeah, with that young guy.
With a young guy. Plus she dated Tupac before. You can see it in his behavior. If you're dating Tupac before and then you're marrying this guy and then he starts doing harder rap, he tries to be that person, right? But he can't. That's not who he is. Then your wife goes out and finds, you know, an 18-year-old, and then you're in an open marriage, and then you're being brought onto her podcast to have this open discussion about her affair and all the things that she needed. And all of this is incredibly traumatic. And it plays once again into my job is to please those around me.
No, agreed. And then pleasing. And then, you know, I would argue that that moment at the Grammys was the ultimate people pleasing thing. I got to show my manhood.
Yeah.
At that time.
I'm going to stand up. I'm going to defend the woman I love. And I'm going to show all these people that I'm a good person.
Yeah. He should have screamed Tupac when he went up there. Take his stand, man.
But that is the response of someone who's desperately trying to please and who has lost themselves, and their form of identity, their value is caught up in the approval of others.
Would you argue that he's pleasing, trying to prove his masculinity though? Because that's the argument, right? He's being emasculated. Would you go that far? Or is it just people pleasing for you?
I don't think personally, I don't think there was that much logic in the whole act. It wasn't, I'm going to hit Chris to take back my manhood type thing. I think it was just, I'm justified. I'm going to protect my wife, and I'm going to show these people that I'm a good man, you know. I don't think there was tons of logic in it. It was just, he's done something wrong. I'm going to stand up for what's right and show everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. To me, it's like, okay, but what if it was another like big muscular hip hop guy that's a known killer and he made that joke? You think Will would have gone up there?
Hell no.
Even though, like, let's say that he wanted to protect Jada, he wouldn't have, right?
No, I don't even know if he would have stood up to say something in that case.
Right. So to me, like, that's the manhood component. It's Chris Rock.
Yeah.
It's Chris Rock. You know,
I can get away with this. But
I'm going to show my masculinity at this point.
Well, I think The Rock was originally one of the hosts for this one.
If The Rock did that joke, there's no way he's going up there doing that.
Dude, if The Rock did that, he'd go up there and be like, man, that was a good joke, man. Give me a hug, bro.
Yeah, or he'd be like, I'm going to lay the smack down on you. Like, you better not touch me, or whatever the case may be, right?
Going back to it, I do believe that, because other people kind of would make this argument that, you know, this is like Will described in his book where he's trying to save his mom from an abusive dad. And I think it goes a lot deeper than this is Jada's fault. It goes a lot deeper than this is, you know, Will trying to save his mom. This is just a person who spent their life not really gaining their own sense of identity. And from the family that he is surrounded by to the constant, seeking of approval, I don't think people understand what it's like to live in Hollywood. I had the opportunity quite a few times to work on sets for commercial work, for television, movies. I hated it. I hated every minute of it because it's this nonstop political game. And I'm not even an actor. I mean, I was behind the scenes, right? I was doing camera work and that kind of stuff. But you have to constantly behave in a way that pleases everybody. Because if you don't, then you're not going to get the next job. Now, if I feel that when working behind the scenes, because I'm worried about, making sure that the director approves of me, the producers, the executive producers, every single person that's above me, I have to make sure that they're good with me. Because if one person's not, I don't get invited back. Now, you take that and you give it to the actor, actress, magnify it 10,000 times, because now it's not only, they have to they have to get the people behind the scenes to approve them, but it's also everybody else in Hollywood, the people that are watching it, the audience, everybody has to be okay. And so you get these people like a Will Smith who have just spent decades crafting this image of likability to the point where he has no clue who he is. And I think it's that level of trauma sustained throughout decades that brings a person to a place where they're sitting in a crowd, someone makes a joke that offends their wife, and they think it's appropriate and okay to walk up on stage and slap the presenter.
Yeah, I like what you're saying. So instead of saying like just reducing it to he's got mommy issues, and this is a trauma, this is a cumulative effect of all of the experiences. This is like a cumulative trauma, not just it stemmed from one thing, but it's just this effect throughout his whole life. And he's just trying to understand what's happening in his life at this point. Exactly. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So trying to reduce it down to one single thing, I think is, it's very dismissive. I think it's judgmental. And I also think it's a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Their marriage issues, their kids are getting older. He's getting older. He's trying to figure his life out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Now, the next piece of this is like, where do you go from here? Chris Rock obviously is enjoying the benefits of boosted ticket sales.
Yeah, he's making more money out of this. And then they raised the price too. Like they tripled the price.
Yeah.
It went from, I think it was like 100 to like 400 or 500 now.
I don't know if he sees any of that though, because I think that's the scalping price. I think those shows were already sold out. So now it's like the aftermarket is getting boosted and all this. So I don't even know if he's seeing that, but I saw his brothers kind of bring that into their comedy bit. I didn't even know Chris Rock had brothers until this whole thing happened.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then I see his brothers bring it into their comedy bits, and that Chris Rock is going to have, there is so much to potentially, bring into this. But Jim Carrey brought up, and by the way, I have to say that there were some actors in Hollywood like Jim Carrey. A lot of them were actually comedians who stood up and said, "This is insane. How could you applaud this person? How could this person go up and receive?" And I'm grateful that people like that still exist. It is incredibly worrisome because if you have to be a Jim Carrey level to do that, because Jim Carrey clearly doesn't fear anyone in Hollywood. He's big enough at this point to not care. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if he ever cared, but the majority don't. Yeah. So it was nice to see some people kind of stand up and be like, dude, this is wrong.
Yeah, but the funny thing is when he took a stand, then people were like trying to cancel him out. Like they're showing footage of him assaulting Alicia Silverstone, forcing a kiss at some type of award show when she didn't want it.
Wow.
So they're like, dude, you're a hypocrite, man. So even though he's trying to do the right thing, like, it brought up like his past issues. He actually went on stage, forced it. She was trying to push him off, and then he forced a kiss on her.
See, this is the other side of this too, is where do you go from here? It's not to cancel Will Smith. I don't.
But this is where it's like directionless, right? Like he's bringing something up that's appropriate. He's taking a stand, but then he's being like attacked for what he did years and years and years ago. Like it just gets like all enmeshed, and it gets really, really toxic and confusing really
Isn't
quick.
That stupid though? I mean, everyone's going to make mistakes. And I guess, we probably should have said this at the beginning of the podcast, but our purpose isn't to be up here, be like, we need to cancel Will Smith or any of those things. It's not. It's to simply analyze that this was a big mistake. And it should be looked at as a big mistake. But a person has to be more than just their worst behavior in a particularly traumatic moment of their life. Like, we're more than that.
Well, I mean, yeah, like if you're just reducing things to like, don't make mistakes and you're just going to judge people and you can't ever make a mistake, then that's not being a human being.
No.
The truth is you got to learn and grow. Mistakes happen. But if someone is honest and they're growing and they admit what they've done, like Jim Carrey, like, you know, he seems to have gone into this space where he's trying to do good in the world. It's okay. Like, okay, fine.
Yeah. So somebody standing up for what's right, that's what's stupid, is that if you stand up for what's right, people try to tear you down and say, well, no, you shouldn't be able to stand up for what's right because you made these mistakes. Dear God, like show me a person that hasn't. If you can only stand up for what's right, if you yourself haven't made mistakes, then just sit the F down. Everybody should sit the F down because everybody has made mistakes. I once heard this quote from, actually, I don't know who it came from. Maybe it was a mobster or something, but he basically said, everybody is a felon, just most haven't been caught yet. Like everybody has made some stupid decisions in their life that have broken the law, that have done something egregious, and you've learned and you've changed and so Will deserves that same grace as anybody else. And for goodness sake, if someone stands up for something right,
don't punish them.
Yeah, don't punish them.
Why
based
are you
on
looking all
stuff.
those things up? Like, applaud that he's doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be a keyboard warrior just trying to tear people down, because then nothing gets resolved or nothing grows.
No, it's absolutely insane. I had there was the Ukraine stuff that's been going on. We've had several companies that we work with on the photography side that are literally Ukrainian or Moldovan. And so we've posted about it quite a few times. And I get all these messages of, well, are you posting about this? And what about one person wrote, what about all the brown people that are being bombed every day? Are you posting about all of them? And I'm sitting here thinking, well, no. And I'm sure there's tons of things that are going on that I'm not writing about, but I am choosing to, talk about this because I have something to say. And if you have to either say everything or say nothing, nothing will ever get done because nobody has the time to possibly speak on everything. On top of that, some of the issues that are going on, we don't necessarily have something to say. We don't have a way to enter the conversation, so we stay out of it. Mm-hmm. But there was a number of these people, probably 50 to 100 of these people that it would text me of, stay in your lane, and I don't see you posting about other crises and other things that are going on. And the funny thing is I would go to each of their pages to look. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't post about anything.
They don't have anything either. They're just judging.
No, they don't write about a single thing that has happened. Just judgment.
Do as I say, not as I do.
It's wild.
Hypocrisy. Keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess my thought in terms of where we go from here, it's to realize that Will Smith did something stupid. Doesn't make him a bad person. Doesn't make him an angry black man like everybody is. Yeah, that's the other narrative.
Yeah.
He's an angry black man. Come on, dude. But there's no need to be that reductive in every single thing that we're doing, right? So allow him the opportunity to figure out what the hell went wrong. And, if there's going to be, I think there should be repercussions and punishment. Should it last a lifetime for his entire career? No. I don't think he should be canceled over it. I think that there needs to be some sort of amends. And on Chris Rock's side, I think, he just needs to process what has happened. And he already said he's not pressing charges.
Yeah, he didn't press charges. And I mean, supposedly like Will Smith's a pretty good dude, right? So this is out of character for him. So that shows that he was triggered and in some type of trauma state. Give him grace.
For sure.
Give him grace. And then it seems like they share a trauma. Like I think, he had an abusive upbringing. Chris Rock was being bullied and sexually assaulted. So they share that wound together or some similar wound together.
Yeah.
So give him grace. Give them both grace.
The Oscars, the Academy did take away his membership.
Ooh, that's a big one. They should just remove him.
He's gonna suffer from that one.
Yeah.
Because, not being a member, you can still win Oscars and awards. You just can't vote.
That's a big one.
I would think that's a relief. Isn't that like a relief? Like, oh, good. I can still win, but I don't got to vote on anybody's stuff. That's cool.
So after all this, he got the award. He was celebrated, and then you just can't vote anymore, Will.
Yeah, you just can't vote anymore.
Oh, all right.
People are talking about taking away the Oscars. First, they've never taken an Oscar from anyone that's won one, including Harvey Weinstein, which if we're going to talk about egregious acts, that would be the pinnacle of. of that. But I think the reason they don't take them away is because it actually affects all the set and crew. So it affects everybody else more than it does Will Smith. If you take,
I see,
to have worked on a production that gets an award like that, you get to put that in your resume. Every single person that was on that job gets to put in their resume.
I see.
Whereas for Will Smith, he's going to get the same number of jobs. Any major actor is going to get the same number of jobs, whether they win or not. You know, it doesn't really affect them as much as it would.
That's a really good point. So even though he won the award, it's not his award. It's everyone behind the scenes that benefits from that award.
Everyone
and you're taking that away from them.
Correct. I was on an Oscar production. You know, we won this. So to say like he should not have the Oscar, that's unfair to the thousands of people that were, you know, in those productions.
Also, you're an Oscar winner, man. Sweet.
No, I never got that far.
Oh, I thought you, oh man, I was like, wow, that's awesome, man. You should add that to your resume, man.
I could not handle the politics of Hollywood, dude. I was in and out so quick, and I didn't even get to see the majority of it. I mean, I worked on a few commercial sets, a television set, and that I was like, I'm done. I can't do this. I think it takes something from you. It takes a big part of your humanity.
Soul crushing a little bit.
Yeah, like you have to give up a huge part of yourself to do that.
I see what you're saying. You could, even if nothing is happening, you could feel the tension and the weirdness in the air. That kind of feeling.
You mean like on a set?
Yeah.
Yeah, on a set, it's just, I mean, I got yelled at for talking to people that I shouldn't. Like, not like, you know, offensively. Just, hey, how was your day today? Hey, you don't talk to talent while you're here. Oh, shit. Okay. I thought like I was the creative director on set. I'm like, I actually have a pretty big assignment.
That's crazy.
Like, that's cool.
So how do you do your job?
Well, I could do my job without talking to the talent. There's this hierarchy of who you can talk to, who you can't talk to. This is okay. This is not okay. And
that's crazy.
It's just wild, dude.
That's just crazy.
And yeah, what you can and can't say.
But that culture, it makes sense why like Harvey Weinstein was able to do what he did, because it's a weird environment that lets you get away with a lot of things, and even this whole Oscar thing too. It
is this toxic power vacuum where the people that are assigning these jobs within that sphere, within that social sphere, they hold so much power that they can get away with insane things. Because all you need is that one job, you know, and this is why actors, I think it happens more to actresses than anybody, but this is why they're pressured into doing all sorts of things, because maybe I have to have sex with this guy, but if he gives me that one job, that's the last time I ever have to do something like that.
That's like that Dave Chappelle joke, like you're a female actress and then you knock on the door and you're like, I'm here for my 1:30 a.m. with Harvey Weinstein, right? Like that.
It's a joke, but it's like, dude, this stuff is very real. Like it's wild. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Anyway, hopefully this was helpful, insightful in some ways. None of us have to deal with the Chris Rock, Will Smith level of issues, but
no,
we do get triggered
for sure,
and we do want to know what it's like to see red.
Yeah, man. I wish both of them will, man.
Dr. Glen gets triggered a lot, and that's when he goes back to LMB. LMB, man.
Oh yeah, that's right, man. That was my trigger moment, I think, right? That was like my slap moment to myself.
I just about got triggered when everybody online started texting us. They started DMing us on Instagram everywhere, LMB. I'm like, why is everybody saying LMB?
But you know, that's because of you though, right?
No, it's because we said like in an episode.
You encouraged it though, man. You encouraged
but
it.
I forgot at the time. It was like 3-4 weeks after, and I just kept getting these LMBs, and I'm like, why is everybody being so mean?
See, I'm gonna say that you're the Chris Rock, and then that's why like you triggered me, man. You're the Jada and Chris Rock combined, man.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take on that mantle. We hope you all have enjoyed the episode. Well, in the meantime, until the next episode, know that Dr. Glen and I are working hard on our online coaching programs. So we are slowing down the podcast a bit, the newsletter, just so that we have extra time to kind of focus on getting these online coaching programs filmed and ready to go. So while we're working on those things, we would love for you guys to subscribe to the newsletter. You can find that at 12weekrelationships.com. That's where each week, well, at right now it's kind of every other week. So when we feel like it, we will send you a newsletter. We call it the TWR Roadmap. And every one of them are handwritten messages. They are designed to be insightful and valuable and not waste your time. We're not going to sell to you. We're not going to spam you or anything like that. So you can also unsubscribe at any time if you desire. But there's no need to do that. Anyway, you can find that at 12weekrelationships.com. In the meantime, if you do want personal coaching, you can also join the waitlist. That waitlist is getting pretty long for Dr. Glen, but we will also bring you in, or at least notify you when we do have the online group coaching available. And the one thing that's been helping us out a ton is, if you'd like, leave a review for us on the iTunes store. You can go to iTunes, 12-Week Relationships, and leave a review for the podcast. We read them all. It's absolutely incredible to see your guys' thoughts, and it helps us to grow the podcast. If you have critique, please don't put it there. Just DM us. Critique, questions, anything you want us to bring onto the podcast as a topic. Again, once we have the coaching programs available, we'll ramp back up our podcast and everything else. We just wanted to focus on getting that done. But I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Awesome.
Okay. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you so much.